Alright, here goes part 2 of this teardown. Okay, let's see. You can see we are down to the bare engine block. Pretty much the whole front end of this motor has been completely stripped. Let's see if we could focus. You could see how none of this has ever been addressed. And this is how you get overheating issues. You see this O-ring and this pipe with the oxidation built around it. That oxidation is from people running straight water in it. You can see it's got an original head gasket. The head's never been off. It's an aluminum head, cast iron block. And see if I can get a good camera angle inside of the back of this hole here. That's your water pump in there. That is the propeller on the water pump. It spins this way actually. And it spins water through there. Now let me see if I can get a better view of that. There we go. So that's the back of your water pump. Bearing feels good. Everything inside of there looks pretty decent. From the color, it looks like it might have been replaced at one point. But we get into this whole might have, right? And there is a little bit of dew built up on it. So, I mean, if it was replaced, how long ago, and then was it or was it not, really becomes the $1,000,000 question. Do I want to replace everything on your engine? No, I don't. But do I want to have to take all this apart again to do the same thing? No, either. I'm learning how much labor I should have charged you for how much work I've gone into this. You can see your pulleys have some oxidation on them. Also, this is the tensioner. If we want to get into all that, sure, it'd be great to go ahead and replace these idler pulleys. Why not? You got 1, 2 idlers. Well, 3 idlers. This is a tensioner. And then this is another tensioner. That one, no, you have 2 idlers and a tensioner. The pulley on that tensioner I took off, and you can see the oxidation on those nuts. These are special 12-point nuts. This is the bracket that holds the AC compressor and everything. And yes, that has to come off. This is the air pump. You have the air pump and then you have the vacuum pump. Everything on the air pump looks good. No need to do anything to it but reinstall it. This is the lower radiator hose. I didn't see anything alarming with it. It would be nice to change it just because it's a pickle to get to, but there's nothing wrong with it. Let's see what else. Oh, the oil filter and is already installed, the new one. This is the oil cooler. It does have a vacuum release. Goes to one of the vacuum lines. Remember in the last video I showed you this oil filter pressure switch. I'm going to flip it around without trying to lose the nuts. And there's the back side of it. Now if you notice on the back side of it we have this hose, right? Let's see if I can... we're dropping bolts. Okay. See this hose right here? It goes from the oil cooler to the thermostat housing. Coolant passes through to cool the oil. This hose we definitely want to replace. We don't want that hose to bust and have to take this all off again. We have a set of O-rings here. You see these gaskets? They're all flattened out. And then there's another one here. So it's one gasket here and another gasket here. Now the camera's focusing. Okay, so one gasket here, one gasket here. I need to go get that gasket. Volkswagen Audi, same thing. See both of the emblems there. AC compressor's just dangling. It's being held up here pretty well, no damage to it. I'd like to clean this whole entire engine block real nice for you. Maybe even throw a coat of paint to help with some. I got the black paint here to do it. It's just, it's not for looks. You're not going to see it. It's just to help prevent the oxidation from getting worse. See all that? So, I mean, we got it out. Might as well, you know? This hose looked good. No need to mess with it. Let's come back over here to these thermostat housings. Okay, now this one is yours that came off. And if you can see this lip with the new O-ring already on it, on this one you could see where it broke coming out. It was so fixated in there and oxidized and rusty. Here's the outer lip that broke off when it came out. So this is the oil filter housing. That hose that I showed you on the back of the oil cooler, I said we must replace it. It links up to it over here. And then this is just another hot water pipe inlet. You can see the amount of oxidation it had in there. So this is all pretty dried up from them just running water in it. And it was sooner or later going to create an overheating issue. It wouldn't have made it through the summer. Concerned about this little guy. We got some rust buildup. It is a little metal pipe, but we got some rust buildup. More worried about. See how that's chipping? I'm gonna sand it down and see. I'm gonna sand it down and put a black coat of paint on it. But this is definitely got to get cleaned up here. And see, that's the O-ring. And then you can see the top of this. How oxidized it is. So, that, my friend, you're calling me while I'm making you a video, Jonte. Okay. I'll call you right back when I'm done filming this video for you. Okay, so this goes in this top hole here. And then now in the new piece, I would have to install it there. But I'm not going to shove this cruddy thing in there. I need an O-ring for it. Anyways. And if we come back over here and we look at this guy, need an O-ring for that. I need to clean this up too. And these are where those other O-rings and gaskets went. So that'll take care of your water pipe. It's up to you if you want to do the thermostat, the water pump, but you're definitely getting a new radiator, new thermostat housing, the hose to the intercooler, gaskets for the intercooler. This whole front of the engine is pretty much going to be addressed. Moving on. This is the vacuum pump, the notorious vacuum pump that is known for leaking, and you can see where it has a gasket here that leaks, and then this rides into the actual camshaft, and it has to be aligned in a particular way. Down in there you can see the slots for it, and that's actually the camshaft for the timing chain. And this is the other gasket right here that it leaks from, and you can see where it was leaking from it. So there we go, that's the gasket. So we'll be replacing this gasket also, and you can see all the oil down there that was dripping down the side of the engine. We're gonna be putting Adams oil in this puppy, so we want to make sure it's good. Make sure that plugs all the way in. Alright, so vacuum pump seal is getting taken care of now. I just want to recap on the first one. We got an airbag sensor, so you're going to have an airbag light on. It's not the end of the world. Maybe I can super glue that or something. This is all to the vacuum. Oh, that's looking good. This is the upper radiator hose. It's looking good, and it's easy to get to, so I'm not worried about replacing that now. The lower radiator hose would be nice to replace. Pretty much what I'm looking at is these gaskets, these O-rings. Are we doing the water pump? Yay or nay? And then, like it or not, I'm cleaning up that engine block and spray painting it. And give you an idea just how far tore apart this thing is. I mean, the whole entire front end, literally. This is the kind of work, bro, that guarantees you. Oh, the last thing, the alternator. Original Bosch two prong power and grounds over here, which that ground is oxidized and needed to be cleaned up anyways. You can see from the oxidation on it, this is the original guy. It's been in there. It's a traditional Bosch 110 amp. I mean, as far as we know right now, it's good, bro. There's nothing wrong with it other than the fact that it's old. It's in its later years of life. It's frail. It's working, but it's tender and fragile. So the pickle with that alternator is when this is all assembled. Motor mount bracket sits up here, AC condenser down, compressor down there, which is hanging right now, and then that alternator is buried inside of here. And to get that alternator out, you have to remove the front core support and the radiator and all that to get to it later. The same with all these idler pulleys we talked about and tensioners. This car did have a noise at idle that I was listening to. It sounded to me like it was power steering. Let's see if we can tell from under here. Couldn't have been power steering. Yeah, this engine's definitely need to get grinded and cleaned up a little bit. We're not dealing with the back of it now. We're dealing with the front of it now. That's the most important part. I don't think this car was up north because there's not like a lot of rust in the body, but there is a little bit of surface rust beginning in here. And I'll clean all that up for you. These cars are pretty well insulated. This side wasn't hit, like I said. That plastic piece is intact. This fender over here where the bumper slides on, this was compromised. and you can see the screws, how shot out they are. Here you got a nice little leaf collection I'm gonna have to clean out for you. Ugh, it's a messy job. The CV axle looks like it was replaced. Yeah, I think I've pretty much ran through everything with you, brother. Still haven't done the coil and the plugs and all that. That's easy peasy stuff towards the end. Recommend the PCV valve for it, but that's like a $10 component and can easily be done anytime later down the road. The main concerns now would be everything I discussed under here. Are we doing the water pump, the seals, the hose for the cooler, all that. This plastic piece over here. Alright, and then on that bracket right there, once it goes back up, are we doing the alternator? Are we doing the pulleys and the idlers? I know you're going to ask the $1,000,000 question. Well, how much is it? I mean, it just depends where we find it. Do we find the stuff on eBay? Do we get it from Triangle Auto Parts? Do we get it from the junkyard? It just requires a little more time to do this right, so we're not just slapping it back together. So that you can go down the road, drive to Miami, drive to Tampa as many times as you want, and not worry about overheating, leaks. You know, the cold weather's almost gone, and soon you're going to be looking at, well, we're all going to be looking at some hot weather, sitting in traffic, idling for long periods of time. And this is all going to be super duper important. I did open that up so that there's straight flow through that hole, at least in the thermostat. It'll help it run a little bit cooler. That's the new one. Here's the old one, so you get an idea what I'm talking about. Comes with that little bearing in it. And I just chomped it off. And by the way, this was the original thermostat. Never ever been replaced. Opens up at 80. Made in Germany. Waller brand. Anyways, this is not the original, but it is the same brand, Waller. So you got quality stuff. I chopped off the bearing just to have straight flow so that that bearing isn't stopping the water flow. We live in Florida, that's important. If we lived up north, I wouldn't do it. But in Florida, you want that straight flow through that hole right there. You don't want that bearing creating resistance. I used to do that trick on my race cars, you know, after 2-3 laps, I'd be running hot around the racetrack when I was younger in my 20s. And old man told me about popping the bearing out. Some of the thermostats don't have it. We just drill a 1/4 inch hole. So even when the thermostat's closed, something's always peeing through. So it never really reaches full pressure. It doesn't get that hot. And then I'd be able to go 4 or 5 laps without a problem. So now here in Florida, the Sunshine State's a little trick that I do to these cars, especially the German ones that like to run a little hotter. So you're not just getting a thermostat, you're getting a whole thermostat housing and everything else. This is what I like to call diligence. You know, we're dotting the I's, we're crossing the T's, we're making sure that my reputation and the quality of work that you get, you know, are being protected by not skipping anything, not taking any shortcuts. Like you can see, all this was sooner or later about to go on you, and then the whole front end of the car would have had to come apart again because it was half-assed, and it was just a quick thermostat, slap it together and go deal. But that is not what we're doing, my friend. You won't leak oil from anywhere here. You won't leak oil from vacuum pump. I mean, if you ever did leak oil, it'd be from the oil pan gasket, which we're not doing, or a rear main seal. And we deal with that whenever it's time to do a clutch. But I don't think these cars aren't known for leaking from a rear main seal. They're just not known for that. They're known from leaking from vacuum pumps and other places. The other thing is, this is a little C-clip that holds that water pump, and it broke. There we go. It's got a number on it. Let's see if we can. Okay, so we need that C-clip. You had another one up. Oh, the headlight. Speaking of the headlight, you see, in the accident, the mounting clips for the headlights, some of them were actually broken. So it would be a good idea if you got those headlights. Here's another one of the C-clips that I'm talking about. I think this one's a different size, or is it the same size? No, same size. PA 6.6 GF30. And on the bottom it's V as in Victor, B as in boy, 8, C as in Carlos, Z as in zebra. And then on the other side we have these numbers: 03121 Volkswagen Audi. So we're gonna have to get one of these clips. That's about it, man. You keep calling me. You've called me twice while I'm making you this video. So I'm going to end the video. I think you get an understanding of what's happening. And I'm going to send you this video and call you. Peace.